Anyway, chapter 13 of our Dune Messiah book club is a very, very short chapter. I hope you'll bear with me a wee bit tonight, folks. I'm in a fair bit of pain, and I nearly wasn't going to come online tonight, but I'm actually quite pissed off, so I'm just going to go through with it anyway, and hopefully we'll get there. And apologies if I'm wincing a bit and that kind of thing. So we'll start off with our epigraph number 13. I've had a bellyful of the god and priest business. You think I don't see my own mythos? Consult your data once more, hate. I've insinuated my rights into the most elementary human acts. The people eat in the name of Muad'Dib. They make love in my name, are born in my name, cross the street in my name. A roof beam cannot be raised in the lowest hovel of far Gangrishi without invoking the blessing of Muad'Dib. And that's from the Book of Diatribes from the Hate Chronicles. Carlos is saying, I remember when you at least had to look someone in the eye when you robbed them. I hate computer crime. The more tech you use, Carlos, the more you can be found. It's as simple as that. The best crime to commit is the one that uses no technology whatsoever and don't tell anyone what you're doing. But no, these people leave footprints, and it's just, I'm sure we've all been, there's quite a lot of us get victims of this. And I suppose they kind of rely on the fact that you don't want to fucking, rat them in or something like this, but I'm very happy to. And they're cheeky buggers, to be honest with you. But what can you do is you can fight back. I suppose I do anyway. So apologies, I didn't really want to have to do anything like that on the book club there, and I will probably edit it out at some point. But I'm good for my word. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Well, in fact, I'm going in for a bit of surgery tomorrow, but that's what I'll hopefully be doing after once I recover. So there we go. Now, I don't know if anybody can help me with this one. Having a wee look through just that, the nature of Muad'Dib, etc. One of the few words that I've not been able to get any etymological link for is Gangrishi. A roof beam cannot be raised in the lowest hovel of far Gangrishi without invoking the blessing of Muad'Dib. So I don't know if anyone out there with the various sort of language skills, etc., that are available to a lot of you has any idea about that word, but I've been able to find nothing, I'm afraid, which is rare. And I've tried breaking the word up, and I actually found some things in Bengali, actually, but I couldn't get any actual meaning for them. So it's possibly the name of a village or something somewhere, possibly out in that part of the world, but I've got nothing, I'm afraid, for the first time in a long time, I think. So I've just put Gangrishi is unknown to me. Pardon me. This is from the Book of Diatribes from the Hate Chronicle. Diatribe's a good word. It kind of means to rub through in Greek, if you like. But, of course, there's a type of discourse that can be a bit full on, if you like. Excuse me, a diatribe is generally seen as a kind of a verbal attack. I would just consider it a kind of a discourse or argument, but I think that's more of the modern meaning, So there we go. It's dialogue heavy. It's very short, and I dare say we'll get through it. Get through it quite quickly. Sorry, and there's really not that much to discuss about it, I suppose, in terms of that. There's a few things that we can look at today, but in terms of any little notes and stuff, this is possibly the chapter that I've got the least out of since we've started both Dune and Dune Messiah. And I suppose there's a couple of things that we will discuss in it. I suppose the real thing is the nature of religious government, I think, and what these two think of the Atreides power, what they think of the Atreides Emperor, and how they rule, excuse me. But so I'd imagine this will go quite quickly, folks, Let's have a wee look. So we'll start off with Edric here, and he says that you risk, so this is Edric in Scytale, basically. You risk much leaving your post and coming to me here at this time, Edric said, glaring through the walls of his tank at the Face Dancer. And this is going to kind of go back and forth between these guys, I think, but they're kind of insulting to each other, aren't they? Excuse me. So Scytale says, how weak and narrow is your thinking? Who is it who comes to visit you? And Edric hesitated, observing the hulking shape, heavy eyelids, blunt face. It was early in the day, and Edric's metabolism had not yet cycled from night repose into full melange consumption. Pardon me, sorry, very chesty today. Edric says, this is not the shape which walked the streets, Edric asked. And Scytale, one would not look twice at some of the figures I have been today. So Scytale's obviously been assuming different shapes and moving through Arakeen. Edric's thoughts here are, the chameleon thinks a change of shape will hide him from anything. Edric thought with rare insight, and he wondered if his presence in the conspiracy truly hid them from all oracular powers. The Emperor's sister? No. Edric shook his head, stirring the orange gas of his tank, and said, why are you here? Scytale replies, the gift must be prodded to swifter action. That cannot be done, says Edric. A way must be found. Edric, why? This is Scytale. Here we go. This is the gist of it. Pardon me. Things are not to my liking. The Emperor is trying to split us already. He has made his bid to the Bene Gesserit. Oh, that. You must prod the Gola. Edric says here, you fashioned him, Tylaxu. Better than to ask this. And he paused and moved closer to the tank. Or do you lie to us about the gift? Scytale says, lie? Edric says, you said the weapon was to be aimed and released, nothing more. Once the Gola was given, we could not tamper. So this was the original idea, that hate is basically some kind of fire and forget type of weapon, if you like. That's the original idea within the conspiracy, but Scytale's going to let us know differently here. And he says that any Gola can be disturbed. You need do nothing more than question him about his original being. Edric asks, what will this do? And Scytale says, it will stir him to actions which will serve our purposes. I think it's kind of interesting, just at the very least, what will sort of poke, what will get this Gola to sort of shift into their purposes, if you like. And it's the fact about questioning their own original being, in this case, questioning, I suppose, about being Duncan Idaho. And I thought it was interesting, because that's kind of a thing that the Gola does anyway. And it's also kind of a thing that I figured that the Atreides are doing to the Gola as well. If you see what I mean, constantly this, we had that chapter where he's almost more referred to as Duncan Idaho than hate, with the Atreides siblings. And I just think it's interesting, but maybe it's just to prod him more, I think, but it's what Scytale is asking is kind of Edric is kind of what's already happening, I think. Pardon me. There's Chaya Rivka says, Gan is he. Oh, here we go. Excellent. Right, let me get my pen. Hang on. Fantastic, Chaya Rivka. Thank you so much. Gan is Hebrew for garden. Gesher means bridge, so Gan Geshri could be related to that. I'm going to go with it. I'll scribble it down. Thank you so much, because I've got nothing. Gan. Okay, here we go. Bear with me, folks. Hebrew for garden. Okay. That's Gesher, is it? There we go. Yeah, that little icon thing, that little emoticon thing, it always covers up the last lines of my the most recent comment, which is kind of annoying. Gesher means bridge. She could be related to that. Yeah. I'll take anything at that point. Thank you very much. Yeah, I kind of even thought, as much as it says it's like a roof beam cannot be raised in the lowest hovel of Fargangrishi, it suggests a place of poverty, etc. It also kind of rang a bit to, there are Irish places that sound a bit like that, if you see what I mean. Get the she bit. But pardon me, I couldn't find a thing. But thank you very much, chat. It's brilliant of you. Thank you. I'll take anything with that one. I think up until we hit this word, the only thing we couldn't figure out an etymology for was Irulan, and then we figured out that it's backwards. That Irulan's name makes real sense actually. It's Narali, isn't it? Excellent, chat. So there you go. Thank you very much. Yes, where were we? Now, lots of wee bits of dialogue here. There's nothing but dialogue in this chapter, pretty much. So Edric says, he is a mentat with powers of logic and reason. Edric objected. He may guess what I am doing, or the sister, if her attention is focused upon. Scytale cuts him off here and he says, do you hide us from the Sibyl, or don't you? And it's a good question. And to be honest with you, I think, honestly, the answer is no. If you see what I mean. And Edric says, I'm not afraid of oracles. I'm concerned with logic, with real spies, with the physical powers of the Imperium, with the control of the spice, and again he's cut off. And Scytale says, one can contemplate the Emperor and his powers comfortably if one remembers that all things are finite. And I think this is kind of interesting. Oddly, this is Edric here, oddly the steersman recoiled in agitation, threshing his limbs like some weird newt. And just in relation to this, the language within this chapter, how we're discussing these people, we have... oh goodness, I thought I'd written all these down, but we have newt, we have chameleon. We're also going to have, fish, I suppose. We're going to have an association with Scytale being a bit fish-like a fish man, if you like. But yeah, I'll sort of make the point in a wee minute. I think it's just kind of interesting that I suppose the face dancers being, the Twi'lexu, etc. I think we had a wee look at the etymology and stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff as axolotl, isn't it? I think are both all kind of like salamanders, these kind of things. So the fact that he's threshing like some weird newt, I think, is interesting because of Scytale's response, and we're told that he fought a sense of loathing at the sight. There's just something a wee bit I thought. The guild navigator wore his usual dark leotard, bulging at the belt with various containers, yet he gave the impression of nakedness. When he moved, it was the swimming, reaching movements. Scytale decided, and he was struck once more by the delicate linkages of their conspiracy. They were not a compatible group. That was weakness. Now, I've got to be WTF here. And maybe again, guys, you can help me tonight. I think either this is an error in the book, because linguistically this doesn't make sense. And I just wanted to check. I'll just read it to you. It's the sentence, it was the swimming, reaching movements. That's got a full stop. And then we have Scytale decided, comma. And he was struck once more by the delicate linkages of their conspiracy. Now, I think that's an error, a printing error. I think it should be, it was the swimming, reaching movements, comma, Scytale decided, full, comma. And so I think that shouldn't be a full stop there. And between, it was the swimming, reaching, between the word movements and Scytale, I think it should be a comma. Scytale decided, and he was struck once more by the delicate linkages of their conspiracy. I was just wondering, have you guys got, it was the swimming, reaching movements, full stop there? Just curiosity. I have a comma after reaching movements. I'm right then. Yeah, it's a misprint in my book. Thank you very much. Who's that? Oh, Cynthia. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Honestly, I just go, hang on, this is really funny here. It shouldn't. I don't know how these mistakes end up on these books. To be honest with you, I'm just going to put not full stop. That makes perfect sense. Thank you. Sometimes I wonder if it's me, these things here, but it's clearly not. That's my copy. Not as many mistakes as the copy of Dune, thankfully, but there's still quite a few. But that was just one wee thing I wanted to check. And what was it I just put there? Problem. Yeah, problem here is what I've put. But there we go. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Yeah, so Scytale's kind of repulsed by Edric. And what the impression of nakedness, what is it that's doing? It's the swimming, reaching movements Scytale decides. I think that's what gives him a sense of loathing. And he's struck once more by the delicate linkages of their conspiracy. This was not a compatible group. That was weakness. And it is the flaw in the conspiracy. It's usually the flaw in most conspiracies if they collapse, is that usually somebody's working against them or something. Everybody needs to be on the same page, really. So we're told that Edric's agitation subsided. He stared out at Scytale, vision coloured by the orange gas, which sustained him. What plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Edric wondered. The Taxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. Evil omen. Let me just read that again. Hang on, sorry. He stared out at Scytale, vision coloured by the orange gas, which sustained him. What plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Edric wondered. Oh, for goodness sake. Edric wondered the Taxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. That's another mistake, isn't it? Oh, Chai saying mine also has a full stop after movements. It should be a comma, I think. But this is another one. Oh, goodness, let me just see. What plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Question mark, Edric wondered. Well, in my copy, it's what plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Question mark. Edric wondered the Taxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. Either that sentence should end at wondered. In other words, what plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Edric wondered. Full stop. The Taxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. Evil omen. But even evil omen's kind of truncated linguistically there. It was an evil omen, something like that. There's something quite bad here, and I don't know if it's mistake. I think it is probably mistakes in the text again. Either that or this is not flowing very well at all. Not to me, anyway. Which is quite strange. Just right after each other there as well. My text is save himself. Edric wondered. That's it's full. For God's sake, I'm right up to thank you something. Oh dear. Right, I am right. Full stop. Capital T. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? What plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself? Edric wondered. Full stop. The Taxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. Evil omen. I don't know. The copy of Dune Messiah hasn't been too bad, but that's these little sort of typographical errors are quite bad, I think. Well, for a book that's been republished so many times, you think somebody would have taken the trouble to actually tidy the thing up a bit. And I know there's different versions, I suppose, but yeah, quite sloppy, I think, isn't it? Well, then we all make mistakes, don't we? Oh dear. Thank you again. Check out. I have wandered the Taxi. Oh, for goodness sake. Yeah, Cynthia, what's the text? Is it you have a particular one, isn't it? I remember you telling us. And I think very much so that we also had a slightly different We've got some of the texts that we have of Dune Messiah have a slightly different prologue, don't they? But no, that's you've got the same as me, Chaya. Edric one, yeah, doesn't make sense. It should be a full stop. Pardon me. After wondered, and then a capital T for the Talaxia, a new sentence there. Oh dear. Just be things that you sort of stumble over them. It's that's the thing. Whenever this happens, I stumble over them very, very easily. That's it. Cynthia, the Berkeley Medallion edition from 197 printing, old copy. I'd love a copy of that. I have to say, I must have. I'll see if I can have a hunt for it sometime. But it seems to be a much better text. What is mine? I suppose these are. This is Hodder, I think. But I think Hodder and Stoughton have published this, and what's the Nell as well within the UK. But I think it shows a consistent desire to just pump out the book, and never really just check it for mistakes. Nobody's actually tidied up these books. It would be very easy to do. Go in and fix all the mistakes and create a new printing. Especially in this day and age, it could be fixed. It could be fixed very easily, I think. Excuse me a wee second, folks. My eyes are going a bit. There we go. Hey ho, right. Let's see. Yeah, Evil Omen, by the way. Superstition, isn't it? It's kind of funny. 1975 printing, Cynthia. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Omens are kind of funny. I kind of understand how a lot of them look, etc. If you know what I mean, the kind of classic sort of Roman and Greek kind of thing. I've seen a few things in my time that you could have. If I had been an ancient Roman, I keep pointing out this to people that not that I believe in such things, but if I was an ancient Roman, that would be a good omen, or that would be a bad omen, that kind of thing. That's and I have the Nell 1984. Yeah. Cynthia says Edric sees Scytale as unpredictable here. In what way, I wonder? He definitely, yeah. I think we're going to get to that in a wee second. Actually, we can get through this chapter pretty quick. I think it's to do with all the muddying. Whatever it is that Edric's doing here within the conspiracy to hide everybody. If I can jump forward a wee bit, I think maybe we'll get there when we get to it. But I think it's all the water, all the kind of oracular waters are muddied, if you like. I think that's the problem. And I suppose that the things that Edric really fears is real world intervention, not those with prescience or etc. That kind of thing. Real spies, people actually logically figuring out what they're up to. This kind of thing. They're an odd couple. This chapter, aren't they? In this chapter. The interesting thing, by the way, is we've had vision mentioned here, but as much as we talk about eyes and things like that a lot, you'll get none of those. We don't get any of those kind of things here at all, which I thought was notable by their absence, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Scytale kind of fights his sense of loathing. And Edric's wondering what plot did the Face Dancer hold in reserve to save himself. Wondered the Talaxi was not acting in a predictable fashion. Is it maybe just Edric's preconceptions of how someone like Scytale should behave, perhaps? I don't know. And again, I think Edric maybe has a bit of a higher sense of himself, possibly. Scytale says that something in the navigator's voice and actions told Scytale that the guildsman feared the sister more than the emperor. I think that's true. And there's an abrupt thought flashed on the screen of awareness, disturbing Had they overlooked something important about Alia? Would the Gola be sufficient weapon to destroy both? Yeah, and we get this bit of poking. I don't know. Scytale's trying to get Edric to do something for him here, pretty much. But they certainly don't seem to be working together, if you know what I mean. This kind of back and forth would kind of remind you almost of, not to the same extent, but it's very much a lesser thing than the back and forth between the Piter and the Baron. Evil omens, superstition. Scytale says something in the navigator's voice and his actions told Scytale that Guildsman feared the sister more than the Emperor. And we back up a wee bit. It was just, and he wondered if his presence, in the conspiracy truly hid them from all oracular powers. The Emperor's sister. No. So it seems to be this is Edric's main fear, if you like. And again, the Gola is a weapon, certainly from Scytale's point of view, which is meant to destroy both Atreides, not just Paul. Scytale says, you know what is said of Alia? He asked, probing. Edric says, what do you mean? And again, the fishman was agitated. It doesn't take much, does it? Never have philosophy and culture had such a patroness, Scytale said. Pleasure and beauty unite in, and we'll get this response from Edric, this is quite important, wee one, I think. What is enduring about beauty and pleasure? Edric demanded. We will destroy both Atreides. Culture. They dispense culture the better to rule. Beauty. They promote the beauty that enslaves. They create illiterate ignorance. Easiest of all, they leave nothing to chance. Chains. Everything they do forges chains, enslaves. But slaves always revolt. Right, got a few things to say about that. First of all, patroness, I suppose, is the female form of patron. But it's kind of a weird one because it should not be. The female form, if you like, of a patron is a matron. But it's one of these words where patroness is actually the gender female version of a patron, which is bizarre. Because patron comes from the Latin pater, which is father, if you like. And a patronus, a patron like that, is a person who protects or defends people, if you like. But I've always thought, patron, and when people say don't patronize me, this kind of thing, it's should patronize or matronize. Because I think that's the way the language should work, and I like words, if you see what I mean. And I often think that patronize is considered in a negative light, which I don't think so. I think if someone's patronizing you, they're supposed to be looking after you, defending you, treat as if they were a father figure. And often I combine the word patronize with condescending. Don't patronize me. I would go, I'm not patronizing you. I'm condescending to you. I'm talking down to you. That kind of thing, just for a bit of fun with words, Chayarivka says, Edric isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. I doubt most players in the conspiracy are acting predictably. Or Paul. Yeah, it's excuse me, sorry. It's one of those things, isn't it, where in the characters in the book, I suppose, what they think's going on, what's actually going on, and certain are tend to be two different things, don't they? But certainly the whole, they're going into this, the conspiracy is going into this thinking that Edric can shield them, and that they're just going to have to go with that. And until they get evidence to the contrary, they can believe that he's shielding them. But I'm pretty convinced that he's not. Paul's following his path now, I think. And I think that I think what's being done within the structure of the novel is that the Atreides, Paul's letting things play out. I think they're well aware, if you see what I mean. And acting in a certain way might cause problems, but that allows the conspiracy to continue to think that they're okay. Now, what Edric says, I think, is quite interesting here. And I think this is a little diatribe from Frank. What's enduring about beauty and pleasure? We will destroy both Atreides. Now, culture. They dispense culture, the better to rule. Beauty. They promote the beauty that enslaves. They create illiterate ignorance. Easiest of all, they leave nothing to chance. Chains. Everything they do forges chains and enslaves, but slaves always revolt. Now, that's an absolute, and it's absolutely wrong. No is the answer, and I can give you plenty of examples. But if you want to take a look at the Roman Empire, maybe Frank is thinking about what we call the Servile Wars. There we go. I'll put these in for you. Servile Wars of Rome. And you can look them up. What's known as the Spartacan Revolt is the third Servile War, I believe. Goodness, here, tell you what, I haven't read anything about that in a long time. I'll just check that I'm remembering correctly before I third Servile War. Also, yes, there you go. My old brain's not that bad, is it, folks? The third Servile War is also called the Gladiator War, the War of Spartacus by Plutarch. It was the last in a series of slave rebellions against the Roman Republic, which were known as the Servile Wars. The third rebellion was the only one that directly threatened the Roman heartland of Italy. It was particularly alarming to Rome because its military seemed powerless to suppress it. Oh, there's some good stuff in there. Who is it? Is it Crassus? Yeah. Now, didn't he get the Game of Thrones? Didn't he get the gold poured all over his head? Or down his throat or something? Isn't that it? Where's his death? Bear with me a wee second. I'll just look it up. But the point being is that not all slaves revolted, and to be a slave in the Roman Empire wasn't that bad a thing. Oh, here we go. Yeah. For anybody who's seen Game of Thrones, for example, how oh goodness, I have to remember characters' names from Game of Thrones. The Khaleesi's brother, how he gets it with the gold poured all over his head. It's supposed to be about, that's originally Crassus, I believe. Let me see, it's got something here. I don't know if it's a story later emerged to the effect that after Crassus' death, the Parthians poured molten gold into his mouth in a symbolic mockery of his first thirst for wealth. There we go. Probably a few different things there. I would have to look that up, but have a wee nosy at the Wikipedia, I suppose. But so as much as we think slaves always revolt, they do not. To be a slave in the Roman Empire was actually a pretty decent thing. And there are many slaves who, you see, slaves get their freedom after a while and then actually become Roman citizens. And there are quite a few famous Roman citizens who were slaves, you know. So it's a wee absolute. Slaves always revolt. No, to be a slave in the Roman Empire could have meant as much as you have to work for this guy or whatever, be a slave. It would have meant a life of relative comfort and safety compared to elsewhere in the world, you know. And if you think about what all the Romans ever did for us, this kind of thing, to be a slave in Rome is to benefit from those things, you know. And as I said, if you keep your head down and work well for your master, you're given your freedom and you become a Roman citizen with all those rights. You know, let me see, who's the one I'm thinking on probably of the most famous ones. Let me see. Very quickly. No, that's not who I'm thinking on. I'm trying to think of who Caesar's slave was. Very famous slave. But that's one my memory's not remembering at all. I'll tell you what, bear with me a wee second. Let's see if I can find a couple of examples. Let's see, slavery in ancient Rome. You can have a wee look at on Wikipedia. There you go. Possibility of manumission, subsequent citizenship is a distinguishing feature of Rome's system of slavery, resulting in a significant and influential number of freed persons in Roman society. Let's see if you can see a few. I'm trying to remember who I'm trying to think of. I just can't get the name. Bear with me a wee second, folks. Yeah, it's quite interestingly. Wee thing talks about always belonging to the familiar, subject to the paterfamilias, the father or head of household, more precisely the estate owner. According to Seneca, the early Romans coined paterfamilias as a euphemism for the relationship of a master to his slaves. The word for master is dominus, as the one who controlled the domain or of the domus, which is the household, or dominium, was the word for his control over the slaves. So the paterfamilias held the power of life and death over the descendants of his household, including his sons and daughters, as well as slaves. The Greek historian Dionysius of Halicarnassus, 1st century AD, asserts that this right dated back to the legendary time of Romulus. Let me see. Just want to find who I'm thinking. I'll maybe just leave it and let you have a wee look yourselves, folks. I was thinking on a particular person. There you go. There's an emperor was a slave. Valerian was captured and kept as a slave. There you go. No, sorry, folks. I'll not waste your time anymore. I was just looking for some famous Roman slaves, but the ones that you'll always get are Spartacus, this kind of thing. Oh, there we go. Here, he's that. Nope. Somebody's got a book out, 20 famous slaves. I think we've also talked about. I'll leave it, folks. I can't find it at all. What was I thinking on there? Sorry, my brain's gone a blank. I'll just get back to the book. I think simply saying the verse by Edric regarding the culture dispensed by the Atreides is secular contra the discussion of religious governance later in the chapter. Did we see this culture in the architecture of the city? Quite possibly, yeah. I've been thinking a wee bit about that. That as we've been going through this book, subtly we've been getting the nature of the change going on within Arrakis, and it's these immense man-made megastructures that are all around Paul's, citadel, this kind of thing, and that they're from all sorts of cultures, aren't they? Culture's a kind of bad word in my country, Cynthia. I think it's Jimmy Carr, I think, does the whole how to speak like a Northern Irish person is to say the two words ginger and community like that. But culture is kind of a bad word in this country. Well, culture and identity are big problems here, and what you'll always get from both sides is arguments over their culture and identity, which their culture and identity go back hundreds of years, this kind of thing. And certainly a lot of the culture in Ireland in relation to that kind of thing is arguably what you'd call low culture, if you see what I mean. But yeah, it's a good point. Revolt. Culture dispense culture the better to rule, and beauty, they promote beauty that enslaves, and they create illiterate ignorance. I think is quite interesting as well. Easiest of all, literate ignorance is kind of what you've got almost going on within all the mad stuff that's going on in the universities these days. I think it's all very funny, because essentially your undergrad students are just out of school usually, but they all know so much without having read or studied anything. It's quite bizarre, I think. Culture. Oh, I did find. I think I've shown these to you before. I did find the books I was talking about just very quickly. Oddly enough, whenever I thought I would show you these folks, but I think I've shown them. But you talk about culture and identity. There's our red hands, by the way. Cruini, or the Cruin is how you would pronounce that one. The identity of Ulster, and of course, and you can see those red hands all over it. We keep talking about hands and stuff like that. That was those three wee sort of books on Ulster, and as you can see, the dominant symbol of my society is the hand. And it comes in different forms. By the way, it can be right or left, and it can be a closed fist or open. That kind of thing, Up where I used to live was quite good. There was an Ulster Protestant. I used to live in an area in Belfast. It's quite rough. It's not that bad actually, but it's called Roden Street. The most famous person from there, I think, is the world champion snooker player Alex Higgins. The street that I lived on had a real gravestone with drawings of terrorists firing over it on one end. Which is but they put up a real gravestone as if they're firing over a grave. And then at the other end, there was one of these usual big red hand sort of Protestant terrorist murals, but it had an extra finger. And they'd actually put the person that drew it maybe did it deliberately. I don't think he did, but it has 6 fingers on it, not 5, which I always thought was quite funny. But yeah, culture, beauty, chains, and slaves. Slaves always revolt. No, they do not. There's an awful lot of modern slavery around today, isn't there? Slavery is not something that's disappeared at all. I think it's in every single modern country. Pretty much every country, I think, Scytale says, the sister may wed to produce offspring. And Edric says, well, why do you speak of the sister? I think it's because it bugs him. That's what Scytale's kind of provoking a wee bit here, I think. But it's a question, I suppose. I think what we're looking at here is, what does Scytale sort of see in the future? What's he speculating on, as opposed to what does Edric see or know, I think. Why do you speak of the sister, asks Edric. Scytale says, the Emperor may choose a mate for her. Edric says, well, let him choose. Already it is too late. And we wonder what that means. Scytale says, even you cannot invent the next moment. Sorry, even you cannot invent the next moment, Scytale warned. I got another one. No, that's okay. You're not a creator any more than we are Atreides. He nodded. We must not presume too much. What about that? That's kind of interesting. Creator. Anything. Yeah, that would be interesting. Maker. You're not a creator. You don't make anything. Any more than we are Atreides. We must not presume too much. Edric says, we aren't the ones to flap our tongues about creation. Edric protested. We aren't the rabble trying to make a messiah out of Muad'Dib. What is this nonsense? Why are you raising such questions? I kind of get almost the sense that Edric is just wanting to be a bit lazy here, just sit in this tank and just wait for things to happen. I suppose he doesn't want to get too involved. Scytale says, it's this planet. It raises questions. Edric says, planets don't speak, but Scytale says, this one does. Oh? It speaks of creation. Sand blowing in the night, that is creation. Sand blowing, says Edric. And Scytale says this, when you awaken, the first light shows you the new world, all fresh and ready for your tracks. And Edric's thoughts here are untracked sand. Edric thought, creation? He felt knotted with sudden anxiety. The confinement of his tank, the surrounding room, everything closed in upon him, constricted him. Tracks in sand. Edric says, "You talk like a Fremen." Scytale says, "This is a Fremen thought, and it's instructive." Scytale agreed. They speak of Muad'Dib's jihad as leaving tracks in the universe in the same way that a Fremen tracks new sand. They've marked out a trail in men's lives. So, Scytale says, "Another night comes, winds blow." And Edric replies, "Yes, the jihad is finite. Muad'Dib has used his jihad, and we've got this little bit here. He didn't use the jihad used him. I think he would have stopped it if he could." Now, I'm just going to pause a wee quick second, folks. I have to run to the loo very quickly. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, folks. Hey-ho, right. Yeah. This is interesting. I suppose the little comments here, I think. The rabble is trying to make a messiah out of Muad'Dib from Edric. And then the jihad is finite. Muad'Dib has used the jihad, is what Edric says, but Scytale replies, he didn't use the jihad used him. I think he would have stopped it if he could. And we have this kind of link into some Fremen kind of philosophy, if you like, or Fremen culture, the idea of leaving tracks on the sand and, the sand blowing those tracks away in the night and a new day awakening, this kind of metaphor. The first light shows you the new world, all fresh and ready for your tracks, this kind of thing. And this really, what Scytale says really does flap Edric quite badly, doesn't it? He ends up all sudden anxiety and almost claustrophobic for some reason. I wonder why it freaks him out so much. It's an interesting one. But Muad'Dib didn't use the jihad used him. I think he would have stopped it if he could. And Edric says, if he could, all he had to do was... And Scytale says, "Oh, be still." And Scytale barked at him. Before we go on, I think this is constantly run at us that, yes, Paul can step off this at any point. The jihad that he wanted to prevent, I think he seemed quite happy for it to go ahead. Pardon me. Certainly within Paul's visions and where we get Paul's thoughts on this, disengage. I do think that he can walk away from this at any time. But that's part of the tragedy of Paul, isn't it? That, right, I'm going to do this because I can, see something really bad coming, and it's kind of the, almost that the jihad is the lesser of two evils, this kind of thing, or a very, excuse me, a very harsh necessity for the survival of mankind. But they seem to think, all he's got to do is something, and it seems to be all he has to do is suggest it's something very simple. And if you're the emperor, how about just give the order? Everybody come home. end your fighting, this kind of thing. But his armies out there, his legions, again, that tied to the Roman Empire, if you like. They're bringing control and order in a funny way to the universe. And we have to kind of wonder a wee bit about that order and chaos. The chaos to order perspective and the order to chaos perspective are kind of the two ways of it, or one of the comparisons that's made between Asimov's Foundation series and Herbert's Dune series. Well, I suppose the Foundation series creates chaos in order to head toward order. Arguably, you could say that the Imperium here has been in order so long it's stagnant, and that Paul brings utter chaos with him, if you like. And we're going to get a little comment on that. Pardon me. But I think there's a lot of Frank's opinions on this. He says you can't stop a mentat epidemic. I thought that be still was quite funny, by the way. Be still, or wisht, is something that an Irish granny might say to their kids or your grandchildren or something like that, to be quiet. Be still, be quiet. Wisht, this kind of thing. It just reminded me of my granny telling me to wise up a couple of times. You can't stop a mentat epidemic. It leaps from person to person across parsecs. It's overwhelmingly contagious. It strikes at the unprotected side, in the place where we lodge the fragments of other such plagues. Who can stop such a thing? Muad'Dib hasn't the antidote. The thing has roots in chaos. Can orders reach there? And that's all it has to do is order. That's what he means. It's an interesting little, the mentat epidemic. I suppose that mentat coming to a logical conclusion, something that leaps from person to person. Right across parsecs, particles, seconds, how far light a particle of light travels in a second is a parsec. Overwhelmingly contagious. We've got words like contagion, contagious, epidemic, plague here. And hasn't the antidote. The mentat epidemic. It's an interesting little thing. Epidemic and was it contagious? I'm writing with a blue pen in my book for the first time in ages. I don't know where my ink pen is. A plague. You can't stop it. All I don't know. I disagree. Maybe he's correct, Sky. I think the suggestion is that once it's on, it's just this uncontrollable force that spreads like a plague as such, that there's nothing you can do. No individual could halt such a thing. It has its roots in chaos. Can orders reach there? I think it's kind of funny because just if we look at chaos and order, that kind of thing. Let's have a look. Something in this. Oh yeah, that's in chapter 1 regarding the conspiracy. Scytale says that the universe is only the insatiable appetite of matter. That energy is the only true solid. The wind-blown sand is the energy, and smooth dunes are solid. Oh, that's really good, Cynthia. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah. The energy is the only true solid. Wind-blown sand is the energy, and smooth dunes are solid. Very good. And again, this idea from Edric saying prior to that, you talk like a Fremen. His next statement here, excuse me. Have you been infected then? Pardon me, my throat's very bad tonight, folks. Have you been infected then? And Edric asked. And he turned slowly in the orange gas, wondering why Scytale's words carried such a tone of fear. So, as much as we know fear is the mind killer, they're both afraid. And I suppose what's interesting here is that each is seeing the fear in the other and possibly trying to hide their own fears from the other, if you see what I mean. Scytale's fears here. Why is he so afraid? Edric's are pretty much focused on the possibility of Alia being able to see the conspiracy, that he can't hide them from Alia, because simply put, she's such an unknown, I think. But have you been infected? Yeah, this is an interesting little bit. But the tone within Scytale's tone has fear. Have you been infected? Then Edric asked. He turned slowly in the orange gas, wondering why Scytale's words carried such a tone of fear. Had the face dancer broken from conspiracy? There was no way to peer into the future and examine this now. The future had become a muddy stream clogged with prophets. That's what I was talking about earlier. Let me give that a wee highlight. And I said that the answer to that was a little bit down the road. Let me just see if I can find what it was we were talking about a wee bit earlier. Scytale is unpredictable. In what way? I wonder. It was you, Cynthia. I think this is the problem here. He can't predict anymore, probably because of the shielding he's doing. But it says here the future had become a muddy stream clogged with prophets. And think about it. If you could take it the other way, imagine that if it was a clear vision, that the future would have become a clear stream where you could see all these things in it. Not the case here. It is a muddy stream clogged with prophets. Again, I wonder how much that's got to do with things like the Dune Tarot. And I think the Dune Tarot is starting to become a wee bit more interesting in my own mind at the minute. Really, because if you like, it creates lots of people who are attempting to create oracular visions, if you like. A planet full of prophets, if you clogged with prophets, if you see what I mean. Everybody with a deck of cards, pardon me, can predict the future. But I think that's why Scytale can't. Edric. I was what we put it there. Why Edric sees Scytale as unpredictable. And again, I think it's Cynthia. It's reliance on the crutch too much, isn't it? That someone with prescient vision relies on that vision heavily, and we kind of get the idea that they don't tend to just look out the window to see what's going on or ask anybody. It's that the oracular vision tends to put blinkers on you, doesn't it? And I think Edric is afraid of that in a little way, or understands at least that as much as everybody is running around, seeing into the future, being prescient, this kind of thing, that you tend to have to focus on something. You have to look specifically. Is, and I think I think he's really concerned with a real life, with a real set of eyes seeing what they're up to, or someone overhearing them, this kind of thing, a real world kind of discovery of them, as opposed to an oracular discovery, if you like. But having asked Scytale, have you been infected then? Here's Scytale's response. We're all contaminated. Scytale said. He reminded himself that Edric's intelligence had severe limits. And I wonder why he thinks that, and what are those limits? How could this point be made that the guildsman would understand it? So again, it's kind of, how do I put it to this guy? But again, it's the disparaging. You'd actually think that a guild steersman, one of these navigators, would be pretty smart, to be honest with you. And that the guild are a school. His higher functions, Bene Gesserit's politics, the guild is mathematics. Higher mathematics, I think. That's their school. I would say that requires a level of intelligence. possibly, or seeing Edric as inferior. How can I make this point? Edric says, but when we destroy him, the contagion, and he's cut off. He's going to say contagion there. And Scytale says to him, I should leave you in this ignorance, but my duties will not permit it. Besides, it's dangerous to all of us. And again, we get this Edric recoiling, steadied himself with a kick of one webbed foot, which sent the orange gas whipping around his legs. Edric says, you speak strangely, he said. This whole thing is explosive, Scytale said, in a calmer voice. So the fear is gone. It's ready to shatter. When it goes, it will send bits of itself through the centuries. Don't you see this? Edric says, we've dealt with religions before. Edric protested. If this new, I may get this cut off. Now, Scytale says this. Let's see. It's not just a religion, Scytale said, wondering what the Reverend Mother would say to this. Harsh education of their fellow conspirator. It's not just a religion. So Scytale believes he's educating Edric here. He could leave him in a state of ignorance, but his duties don't allow him to. Which, you know, again, Scytale's getting his orders from somewhere. It's not just a religion. Here, and this is Frank's. Here we go. This is Frank talking. Religious government is something else. Muad'Dib has crowded his quizarate in everywhere, displaced the old functions of government, but he has no permanent civil service, no interlocking embassies. He has bishoprics, islands of authority. At the center of each island is a man. Men learn how to gain and hold personal power. Men are jealous. Now, I just put that's all male heavy, isn't it? No women are mentioned there at all. Bishoprics. So this is a comment on religious government. Can chat to you a little bit about that in a moment, as I'm sure a few of you also can, you know. There's China saying, Paul, in response to the muddiness, learns to read the absences, think too high, while Edric panics in blindness, or Paul has locked the universe into his desired future and it's too late for the Cabal. And there's Sootpot says, in my opinion, the Guild have stagnated over time. Benny Gesserit, Benny Twi'lek's not so much. Yes, I think that's the whole point, is that everyone within the Dune universe, at the beginning of Dune, it's all stagnant, if you like. The Empire itself is in full stagnation, you know. And granted, there's a little bit of a blip going on here, but it's you can see that with the Emperor, and especially when we talk about him. I think I kind of pointed out that the way the Emperor is described, and how would I put it? Let me see. The way the Emperor is described, and particularly things like Castle Caladan at the very beginning of Dune, would remind me heavily on Gormenghast, you know, which is all the Gormenghast trilogy. Bear with me a second. Here we go. Now, it is that Gormenghast, particularly Titus Grown Gormenghast, has that kind of stagnation, that oh goodness, a tiny writing book. Now, I think the Gormenghast trilogy is highly influential. For those of you who do not know it, I'll show you actually. Titus Grown is the first book by Mervyn Peake. That's an illustration by the author. Gormenghast is book 2, also a steer pike up there. That's also illustration by the author. And I've got a slightly different copy of Titus alone. That's the original trilogy. Let me just see. I'll just read you the blurb on the back quickly. Stranger than fiction, larger than life, full of shades and echoes, Titus Grown is not merely one of the most brilliantly sustained flights of the imagination in modern English fiction. It is also a sustained piece of deadly irony. The characters are weird, the setting fantastic. Everything about Mervyn Peake's masterpiece seems eccentric, but for the stringent sense of reality which always seeps through the farcical, frightening antics, in the mad castle of Gormenghast. But Titus would be the 77th Lord Groan of Gormenghast, is restless in his cobwebbed kingdom of crumbling towers and ivy quadrangles, dank passages and back elbow deep. It's stagnation and ritual and all of this kind of thing. And there's a number of books that kind of thing. Elric has the same kind of beginning as well. And for those of you, if you've read this, it's just something I always thought that was highly influential. But it's stagnation over generations, and generations, and rituals that are all involved in that. Let me just catch up. Oops, sounds to derail you too. Hang on. Not at all. Superpot saying, in my opinion, the Guild have stagnated over time. BGBT, not so much. Oops, sounds to not at all. Here, I'll tell you what, Superpot, thank you. There's so little in this chapter to work on, to be honest with you. It's nice to take a wee wander off. For those of you who don't know quickly, then if you're into your literature and you know that the Lord of the Rings is considered the high end of kind of the peak of high fantasy. Dune is kind of arguably considered to hold the same place, the Dune series, in science fiction, but within the kind of within the Gothic, and it's kind of Gothic science fiction and fantasy. This is your other trilogy, and there is a fourth book written by Peake's wife, but this is the best written one, by the way. He's the best writer of the three. And it's you're talk about that, but your hero isn't even, I think, 2 years of age by the time you get to the end of book one, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, stagnation. Everybody's been stagnation, and I think that continues. And it's even little things like the Bene Gesserit not seeing their own role in what they're up to. This kind of thing. They're blinded by things. Stagnates intentionally under Leto II, but it's jihadi chaos under Paul. Yeah, it's well, isn't he the ultimate order in some ways, isn't he? The universe. No. Indeed, Chaya says Superpot, cool, thanks. Yeah, excellent. Thank you guys. Yeah. Let's have a wee look at this. Religious government. It's not just religion. So, I mean, this is the new thing that the Atreides have brought to the universe, isn't it? But it's an old thing. Something else is crowded as Quizarati and everywhere, displaced the old functions of government, but he has no permanent civil service, no interlocking embassies. He has bishoprics, islands of authority. At the center of each island is a man. Men learn how to gain and hold personal power. Men are jealous. Bishoprics, by the way, from the Old English for a bishop's realm, if you like, is the translation. Another word would be their diocese, and it's basically an area of a country that a bishop has influence or power over. Excuse me. And religious government, we've had it in Northern Ireland for quite some time. If you like, well, the fact that all of our political parties are religious mental cases, really just quite bad on it, if you understand Ian, anybody ever, if you don't know any from Northern Ireland folks, go look at Ian Paisley, senior, the mad priest or mad minister or whatever you like, but that's just a religious hatred and venom, and he's on a par with Hitler. If you look at him speaking, he's a screamer, and he antagonized an awful lot of people in this country and created a lot of violence. I've had the great misfortune to have met him twice, and I've met his son once, and I don't like them at all. They're scumbags. And his son in particular is but yeah, religious government, not a good thing. And there are plenty of countries that have it, like Iran and so on. I'd argue, though, that sometimes there's not much of a separation between the two, to be honest with you. The government carries a lot of the trappings of religion. It certainly does in my country. And then within the United Kingdom, of course, that the religion is associated with the monarchy as well because of the divine right of kings. So if you're ever in a court of law or anything like this in this country, what it says on the wall in front of you is "Mon Dieu et mon droit," which is French for "my God and my right." So our legal system is backed up by an Old Testament deity, if you like, and that everybody's rights with our government's right and power, if you like, particularly the monarchy, comes from the Abrahamic God, which is great. And you get the same thing, I suppose, with the Vatican, don't you? But yeah, every priest, for example, from the Catholic Church in this country is an ambassador for the Vatican. Really, it's an interesting thing. And the particularly bishops and people like that have held, I'd say, more down south in the Republic of Ireland, have held enormous sway over people's lives. And within Northern Ireland, they've actually supported terrorism and got people killed and been part of killing. Would you believe? That's mad, isn't it? Pardon me, but these are very much Frank's thoughts, I think, on religious government. No permanent civil service, no interlocking embassies, bishoprics, island of authority. At the centre of each island is a men who learn how to gain and hold personal power. Men are jealous. And Edric says, when they're divided, we'll absorb them one by one. Edric said, with a complacent smile, cut off the head and the body will fall too. And Scytale says, this body has two heads. The sister who may wed, who will certainly wed, says Scytale. I don't like your tone, Scytale. And I don't like your ignorance. What if she does wed? Will that shake our plans? And Scytale says, it will shake the universe. I don't know if you, I think it's in Children of Dune, but that little conversation, if I'm remembering correctly, is almost identical to the conversation between Leto II and Farad'n. I don't like your tone, cousin. That I don't like this. Yeah, it's very, very similar. For some reason, it just struck me there. And what if Alia weds? Will that shake our plans? It will shake the universe. A little bit of hyperbole there, but what if they're unique? I myself possess powers, which is what. And then Scytale says, "You're an infant. You toddle where they stride." And Edric shouts out, "They are not unique." And here we go. This is a little speech here from Scytale just to wrap things up. You forget, guildsman, that we once made a Kwisatz Haderach. This is a being filled by the spectacle of time. It is a form of existence which cannot be threatened without enclosing yourself in the identical threat. Muad'Dib knows we would attack his Chani. We must move faster than we have. You must get the Goa. Prod him as I have instructed. And Edric says, and if I do not? And Scytale says, we will feel the thunderbolt. And that's the end of our chapter. Feeling the thunderbolt, I suppose, is divine retribution. It will make you think of Zeus and his divine wrath. But the wee things that I got from this, I suppose, is that we got a little bit of commentary on religious government. It's a bit just that they're both fearful. Scytale, we've got a real increase in tension, I suppose, here within this chapter, But yeah, it's probably the one chapter that I've got the least out of since we've started this, to be honest with you folks. But I think it's a little quick bridging chapter, and it really just serves to push the conspiracy forward, the tension for increase the tension in the plot, and to make us wonder a little bit more. But things are starting to roll here, if you like, and yeah. I mean, a couple of wee problems within that chapter, I suppose, on just sort of typographical problems in there. But yeah, they certainly don't respect each other. I'll be honest with you, if I was entering into a life or death conspiracy, with a bunch of people, I want to trust them. So I think that's the way that many conspiracies end, is through someone sabotaging from within, this kind of thing, But I don't know what your thoughts are about this little bit. It's a funny little chapter, isn't it? And it really is. I suppose it's about Edric prodding, Scytale prodding Edric to a course of action to accelerate their plan. And I think we'll get this. It's a kind of a little motif with you, like we'll have Chani's pregnancy accelerate this kind of thing. Everything will start moving, picking up speed within the book, which is something that I like. And it's the person I think that does that best is Ian M. Banks. I think when you get to a certain point in his books, off a cliff you go, and you'll just keep going. But yeah, and I think our next chapter is quite short as well, folks. It's probably for the best for me this week because I've not been feeling the best, to be honest with you, you know. But sounds like Scytale went. Let's see. Sounds like Scytale Tleilax want Alia to wed the Gola and bear offspring. Perhaps this will be a new Kwisatz Haderach for the Tleilax. The later barren marriage didn't seem to shake the universe. Pardon me. Again, maybe they've not seen correctly. But yeah, again, if we always get this kind of thing, if Paul walks away, the jihad will continue in his sister's name, this kind of thing. And if you remember his older visions, if you like, and that was always kind of the idea that, you know, Jessica might sort of make that happen. But yes, what is it's a question, isn't it, to ask? Are the Tleilaxu looking for? You know, they've sent Gola in as a creature of attraction. They're being told here is to destroy them. But again, the Tleilaxu plan is not the same plan as the conspiracy. I think everybody's got their own agenda within the conspiracy. They're working towards a common goal, you assume, but I don't think Scytale is. I think each of them have their own agenda for doing it and their own reasons. And I suppose the wee comment on religious government is quite interesting. But yeah, what would a baby between a Gola and Alia be like? You know, this is quite interesting. You know, and we do know that Golas can breed because down the road there'll be many many Duncan Idahos bred, won't there? I suppose. Chai is saying, just as hate is meant to prod Paul, I think Scytale is prodding Edric unconsciously as well. Bene Tleilax play on everyone's strengths to manipulate their plans, even the Bene Gesserit and the Guild. Yeah, it's. I've been thinking more and more about the ending of Dune, and there's a couple of things in this book. I think I had a wee bit of a matter of a soup hot about. One of them was that, well, it was particularly, wasn't it? We chatted about. There's a comment that the Tleilaxu have had, you know, Sook Gola, you know, that they've broken the Sook conditioning, this kind of thing, and that raised some questions. But it's just this bit here. In the face of the facts, one has led to the inescapable conclusion that the inefficient Bene Gesserit behavior in this affair was a product of an even higher plan of which they were completely unaware. Now, this is from the report that's prepared by the Lady Jessica, you know, but whose plan? And of course, they're not in this book at all, the Bene Tleilax. Pardon me, but Tleilax is mentioned. And of course, here and they will come to the fore as the kind of main antagonist, shall we say. Goal is to control Paul, not to destroy him. Good point. It's the same goal as the Bene Gesserit originally with the Kwisatz Haderach, that they wanted to, you know, stand behind, put it on the throne, stand behind it, so they can wield it. And the idea is that by being behind it, you won't get harmed by it. You know, who conditions the Sook? I don't know. It's we found it. I'll have a wee look for it again. But it was just a single line about. I think it was way back actually. Let me just see. I remember we chatted about it. Just was it? Do you think that it was to do with Dr. Yui? That was my speculation. Were the Tleilaxu behind everything that Dr. Yui did? And the idea that he could be a Gola. And it really does mess with you, but it messes with the entire first book, doesn't it? But it got me thinking a little bit. And I think we said we didn't think it was the case, you know. Who conditions the Suk? It could just be the same. If it is the Tyraxi up to it, you know, I don't know. Again, the Suk are meant to be a school, aren't they? Medicine. And it's just that there's a certain conditioning, I suppose, that means that they don't betray trust, that they're trustworthy. And of course, we know that that's not true. But I must have a wee look for it, just because it was just a little. Why is that in this book? If you know what I mean, it was one thing that just struck me as whoa. And of course, we're told that the nature of the plot. Thank you very much for doing that, because I've just jumped back. Chapter 2, probably chapter 1 of the book, is a murderous nature. Scytale, despite the murderous nature of the plot he hoped to devise, the thoughts of Scytale, the Taxi Face Dancer, turned again and again to rueful compassion. And I think we're getting a little bit of hey, how would we put it? It seems the thing with the face dancers that they gain sympathy for their victims, don't they? This kind of thing, if they take on the reform, this, and it sounds that almost there's Scytale's going a little bit native in some ways, if you see what I mean. He's had a a bit of Fremen philosophy there. I can't quite find it right there now, but I remember making a wee note of it and going, "Oh, what's that about?" You know. But I always wondered about. I always thought it was someone for a long time. I suppose years ago, I thought it was who's behind all this. And I thought often that we would find out in book 7. I thought that's where it was going, you know. But it's just one of those little things. There's a few wee things that just get me thinking sometimes that that things aren't quite the way we've been told, if you like, you know. Sharka said if they can secure Paul's seed or aliens, the Bene Gesserit are okay with Paul dying. Yeah, well, they've got their genes, they don't need them really, do they? Yeah, and if as always, as you said, what if she does wed? Will that shake our plans? And Scytale says it will shake the universe. But what if they're not unique? Now, it's just what he said there. Forget, we once made a Kwisatz Haderach, and this is the one that killed itself. And it's just once. Again, I'm kind of wondering why didn't they do it again? This is a being filled by the spectacle of time. It's a form of existence which cannot be threatened without enclosing yourself in the identical threat. Now, they are threatening that a Kwisatz Haderach, and therefore the truth in that must be that the conspiracy itself is enclosed within the same threat. And what is the threat? I suppose the threat is the Gola, and their attack against Chani, if you like, via the contraceptive poison. We must move faster than we have. And of course, we now know that Chani's pregnant at this point. And that's possibly the information that's changed gear, if you see. But it's not mentioned here. Just the possibility of marriage, etc., shaking the universe. I'd say the universe is pretty shook already, but we know, as I point out, by the time we get to the God Emperor, things are going to get much, much worse. Something's saying Chaya. So just said Chaya's comment was that if they can secure Paul's seed or allies, the BG are okay with Paul dying. Yeah. Chaya saying agree. Cynthia's saying Chaya agreed. Remember that Paul was one generation too early, and now it seems that both the Bene Gesserit and the Bene Chalax are looking to the next generation. Yeah. I even had quite a weird thought the other day as well, that as much as we talked about the Atreides genes and the Harkonnens, etc., that they've lost, they're losing a bloodline, this kind of thing, and they think that, again, they want incest, don't they? They want inbreeding between Paul and Ali as an option. And then it occurred to me, you could take that one step further, couldn't you? If you like. Is that why not breed Paul and Jessica? If incest isn't a problem, to create another Kwisatz Haderach. It's Jessica that's given birth to these two incredible beings, And I just thought I hadn't thought about that. If they go, what about the sister? But what about the mother? if you're up for incest within your breeding program, then why not breed the son back into the mother? And I'd never ever thought of that before. That's probably just my twisted mind, but there you go. But yeah, they're looking for the next gen, and they're looking for these people gone. And again, I think particularly the Guild have always been really the ones in the position of utter control to a degree here within this universe, and they're wanting their power back. You know, we're not trying to make a messiah out of a Muad'Dib. What is this nonsense? Why are you raising such questions? But again, it's the planet that raises questions as well. I think it's quite interesting. And Frank has Dune in here to kind of educate us in a little bit of a way, I think, to make us think, you know. But yeah, that's been. I'll be honest with you, that was quite a tough little chapter to work on. There's very little to get out of it, I think. Well, there's plenty said, but we have to move forward with it, I think. And yeah, they certainly are, you know, agitating each other. You know, philosophy and culture, beauty chains, all these things, the literate ignorance, these are the things that the Atreides is enslaved with. The Emperor may choose a mate for her. Let him choose already, it's too late. I wonder if Scytale's saying that the Emperor may choose a mate for her, that it might not be the Gola. Who knows? I don't know. We aren't the ones to flap our tongues about creation. We aren't the rabble trying to make a messiah. But also, I mean, I think some of the things that Edric says are quite smart, to be honest with you. The jihad is finite. So it is. And also, all he has to do is give the order. So I kind of think what Scytale says is it will be still. You can't stop a mentat epidemic. The question is, if Paul did give the order, would it be obeyed? Plenty of them, and certainly in Dune Messiah, but we saw examples of people disobeying Paul. In Dune itself, you know, a particular, I think just prior to the big battle, they disobey him. And the idea of contamination and epidemic, plague, disease, that's what this jihad is like. It's not just a religion, not religion on its own that just minds its own business. It's the religious government, you know. And there have been plenty of those throughout history. And certainly within the Republic of Ireland's history, there's been a fair bit of that. The church has had an enormous influence down there over the years, and they've actually been shaking it off quite well with a bunch of referendums, that kind of thing, you know. Oh, for the love of God, Cynthia, is it a misprint? Hang on. I bet. Let me just catch up with your comments. So China's saying, yeah. Remember that Paul was one generation too early. Now it seems that both the Bene Gesserit and Bene Trax were looking to the next generation. So that was Bene Gesserit and Bene Trax never gave up on claiming supremacy. The Bene Gesserit of the bloodlines, the Bene Trax of the Golas, and both are slow plotters, the long-term thinking, yeah, even through all the years of Leto II and even in Heretics and Chapter House. And Sootpot says, like, not holy. Likely not holy. I just picked up on this. Are you saying mentat epidemic or mental epidemic? My text says the latter. Oh, right. I said mentat epidemic. Let's have a look. If everybody can grab their books and check for me. Where is this? It's quite new. Hang on. Oh, Scytale says, "Oh, be still, Scytale Bart. You can't stop a mentat epidemic." That had me confused. I'll be honest with you, but I went with it. Let's see. Find it in my book. Mentat. Can I ask, is it you've got mental? Chaya has mentat epidemic. I think we've got the same misprints though, Chaya. So anybody else? Cynthia's got that it's a mental epidemic. Has anyone else got their copy? Tell you what, I'll grab another copy. Over here. Let's see what we can see. Jim Messiah. There's 2 copies. Oh, any more? I thought another different one there somewhere. Oh, I think one of them fell apart when I opened it, didn't it? Let's have a look. I've got a couple of different ones here. I've got a nail. I've got 2 different nails here. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I've got work in this one. No, that's far too far back. Let's see. Going by the epigraphs. There we are. That's it. Jump forward a bit. I've got mentat in this one. Oh, there we go. I've got 3 different copies that say mentat. I think mentat epidemic. Let's see. You can't stop a mentat epidemic. You can't stop a mental epidemic. It leaps from person to person across parsecs. It's overwhelmingly contagious. I think it's mental. I would generally, I think it's another mistake. Mental epidemic makes more sense in this context. Yeah. They're talking about crowd behavior. I agree. I don't know if anybody else has got any other. I know Chaya's got the same. You've got Nell ones, don't you? Let's get the pen and fix the book. It's tricky, isn't it, sometimes? Mental, I'm going to go with. Makes a lot more sense. Right. You can't stop a mental epidemic. It leaps from person to person. Across parsecs, it's overwhelmingly contagious. I wondered why the word mentat was there. Cynthia, I think definitely that you're definitely having looked at various problems within the books that we've seen here. Your copy seems to be bang on, I think. Sootpot saying it makes more sense. Cynthia's in a mentat epidemic sounds fascinating. Needs to be fleshed out. Laughing out loud. Yeah, what would that be? You're quite funny. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a little thing that I just went with it, to be honest, but I wasn't sure. It's a chapter there that I've got quite a few little errors in. That's probably the worst one of this book so far, to be honest. 3 or 4 by the looks of them. But yeah, it certainly can change the meaning of a thing, can't it? Just by changing one letter. Dear oh dear, thank you very much. Mental epidemic. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. It really does. And then that just epidemic plagues, and asking Edric asking Scytale, has he been infected? And he had Scytale saying, we're all contaminated. The whole thing is explosive. It's ready to shatter. When it goes, it will send bits of itself out through the centuries. Don't you see this? And of course, we get that echo, I think, by Paul, don't we? That his little jihad's going to have repercussions all the way down through time. But it's not that mental epidemic. It's not just a religious government, and to do with men holding particular bits of power. This kind of thing, individuals. The body has 2 heads. But what if they're not unique? I think it's the other thing Edric's saying. We know they're not. That's interesting. It will shake the universe, says Scytale, but what if they're not unique? I myself possess powers with. Scytale says you're an infant, you toddle where they stride, and then Edric gets a bit short. He says they are not unique. And there's the proof right after. You forget we had one. What is the saying? Isn't it? Why build one when you can buy two for twice the price? Isn't that it? Something like that. And that they once made a Kwisatz Haderach means that the Bene. I suppose the other thing about that, folks, is that the Bene Chilex got there first. And if the Bene Gesserit, again, they're playing a long game, as you know. Who's saying that? Chaya was saying there. Both of them are slow plotters. Even through all the years of Lido and even Heretics and Chapter House. They're playing the long game, but the Bene Chilex got their Kwisatz Haderach first, and theirs killed itself. A being filled by the spectacle of time, it's a form of existence which cannot be threatened without enclosing yourself in the identical threat. Muad'Dib knows, and there's that. He knows we would attack his Chani, so he's got knowledge, and I suppose that's the thing there. As much as what Muad'Dib knows, that a lot of the comments that are made prior to that is Scytale discussing Edric's ignorance, which of course is the opposite of knowledge. We have to move faster than we have. You must get the goal of Prodom as I have instructed, and if I do not, we will feel the thunderbolt. Mentat epidemic sounds fascinating. It does, doesn't it? It's one of those things. Mentat Epidemics of Dune. Epidemics of Dune, new book for the young Mr. Herbert. Do we find out why the God Emperor of Dune bans mentats? I can't remember. And we'll be getting there. I've started Children of Dune, so I'm trying to read forward a wee bit, folks. Just because I've finished this. I've actually got to the end of this a couple of times. But yeah, it'll be interesting to get to God Emperor Dune. Part of me would almost want to do it before Children of Dune. I was just noting how quite dense Children of Dune is, actually, so it will take a fair bit of time to get through that as a book, But we're well past the halfway mark. Let me see. I don't know. I don't know. We've probably about 12 or 13, maybe a bit more chapters to go, which in theory will take us 12 to 13 weeks, Pardon me. But I honestly don't remember. It's probably to hobble mankind, if I can recall. Oh, no, I mean, I absolutely can't. But I'm sure whenever we get there, if we get there, Soot Pot, But yeah, it's just a dialogue heavy. I figured we'd go through this pretty quickly tonight. And it was just, not so much. It's just really to pick apart. Couple of, particularly, I suppose, one strange word that Chaya give us a little bit of help with, Gangrashi. What was the one I was thinking on? I would go down and go to Inish Freeze. Inish Freeze, kind of what I was thinking on, or that kind of thing. We've got Irish town names that kind of have that free and she in the name, but Gangra, and even I was thinking Ganges, possibly that kind of thing, But Chaya's given us Gan's Hebrew for garden. And Gesher means bridge, garden bridge. Could be. Sounds cool. Words in this book are sometimes pretty tricky, aren't they? I really do a lot of my etymological work online if I can. And I've got 3 really, really old, gigantic 7-language dictionaries. I think 6 or 7 language dictionaries. They're kind of Encyclopedia Britannica type. Well, they're much, much bigger, actually. So I do my best with the words. I'm a wordsmith, not a linguist in that sense, but I love language. So that was great. It's always good. Yeah, I think that's the first word that's totally stumped me. I did say Ireland had stumped me for a while, and then as they say sometimes, and if you do that with Ireland's name, Naluri, isn't it? Is the meaning's bang on for her name. I can be tricked, Frank, sometimes, can't he? But there we go, folks. It says Soot Pot, but we're getting there, and I was just saying, I'm just finishing up there for the night. I don't know if anybody's saying about, we're talking about the Dune Part 2 movie there recently, and I'm really not a fan of it at all, I have to say. But if somebody, I wouldn't mind if I can somehow get near the computer. I've had a few health problems, and I've lately, and I've been actually finding it quite hard to write or type. So a couple of you had sent me emails. I'm very sorry for not getting back to you, being a bit tardy about that. And I've got lots of comments, but I've actually kind of been completely out of action. I was actually writing today just with my pen, and my sort of diaphragmatic muscles are pulling all the time, and my hand's killing me. So my hand does lots of. We see this. That's what's wrong with my hand. I'm originally double jointed in both thumbs, and I've got a lot of damage to this hand from different things in particular. But my double joint has moved, and I think where my thumb has been, this is how my thumbs normally go. I can bend them at right angles, and the joint pops out like that. This one's shifted, so it hurts quite a bit. Fortunately, it's not the hand that I write with, but as I'm sure you know, I'm a bit of a musician, and it's just a lot of wear and tear. But the pain's been quite bad. Sootpot says, I'm waiting on a download regarding Dune 2. You can find it on the Pirate Bay. Sootpot, go have a look there. I've got Carlos Cruceles is saying mine says Mentat. What copy is yours, Carlos? Can you tell me? I don't know. We should maybe do a poll on it, or a vote. I think mental makes more sense, but you can't stop a Mentat epidemic. I don't know. I can't sort of get any lead into that word from what's said prior to this, unless just the fact that Muad'Dib is a Mentat himself. And it doesn't really make sense after. We've enough misprints, I suppose. Certainly within this chapter that have nothing too bad that doesn't change meaning, but it's the sentence structure has been quite bad. But the Dune series seems to be one of those series of books that just are riddled with little errata and mistakes, which is sad. Yeah, no great quality of the one. Oh, well, the one that I got was okay. Don't look in films. It's somebody's got a high definition camera. If you go to the Pirate Bay, if you know what I mean, they have different categories, movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. It was a high def kind of video camera, but I watched it and it was really good. HDTS, yeah. It was just really to have a look at it again, because I actually decided that I didn't want to go to the cinema and spend that money, because it was quite pricey actually to go to the cinema. And I don't have a lot of cash, to be honest, but I treated myself to the Dune Part 2, and as I said, I enjoyed my day. Does that make sense? I give myself a day out, and which I don't get very often, and so I just didn't. The cinema that I went to was quite nice, and I had my popcorn drink, and I sat and watched it as well, But most of the criticisms that I've come up with, I think I really do look at the film as a character assassination. Really, I think it's a very shiny, hollow. Soulless is the word. I think it's stripped the heart and soul. I think they've been too kind to Frank in the process as well, to be honest. But I want to say, for anybody who didn't catch me last time, if you'd like an antidote to the shiny, hollow science fiction of Denis Villeneuve, then check out the film Spaceman with Adam Sandler. It's on Netflix. I think I've said emotional intelligence. And absolutely loved and adored it. It was fascinated me. I watched it in the dark at night in bed with our noodles, and it was a cracking film. I really enjoyed it. And check it out if you. I think it's a really good science fiction film, and it's based on a book called Spaceman of Bohemia, I think, which I'd certainly based on the movie. I can't wait to read. But it was lovely. It's just something nice, and you know what? The film kind of gives you a hug in a funny kind of way. That's how I felt about it. Adam Sandler and this alien. I don't know. The film gave me a hug, and I could have done with a hug at the time. I really loved it. There you go. Thanks for the reviews you've posted on the community page. No worries. Cynthia. Some people, I have a couple of people that send me stuff. To be honest with you, because of my hand and a few injuries and stuff, I've not been able to get at the keyboard, and I've kind of been trying to stay away at the computer. But I've been reading the emails and kind of wanting to do along, and I've not been, I haven't been able to sit too well at the minute, so I've actually had to vibrate the crap out of myself here, just all my muscles. So there's something not quite right with me at the minute. But you're more than welcome. Anytime I get anything like that, I pass it on if you like. And I suppose it's more that some people have been sending me the more sort of critical reviews of Dune 2. An awful lot of them are extremely sycophantic. And I suppose particularly I've noticed that they repeat the language that the movie people put out, if you see what I mean, which is kind of interesting. I almost got the sense that they've been imprinted. But sadly, I tend to have a bit more of a critical eye. I'm well versed in movies and stuff like that as well. But I'm not a massive fan, and I certainly don't put the man up on a pedestal the way he's been. And I find it kind of funny. That Dune Part 2 is. I think someone's put up a video saying it's the Messiah of cinema. It's saved cinema, and I think that's a bit crap, to be honest with you. And as I said, there's a few of you have sent me wee comments, by the way, and I'm Miles, Sootpot, and a whole bunch for Carlos as well. Sorry, I'm a bit behind with all of these things, and the more I get behind, the more I don't get at them, the more and more behind I get. But I'm hoping to sort of try and get a day where I'm feeling all good and my hands are fine. And you talk about hands in the agency. I've given up 2 of my jobs because of my hands. I'm not a musician anymore, and I can't examine papers anymore either as an examiner because it's all done on keyboard. The last time I did about 60,000 questions on a keyboard in 9 days, and it totally wrecked me. So sorry about that, folks, and I will get those responses away as soon as I can. And I know some of them have been up there for months. I apologize because I really do like to sort of I do like to respond to all the messages that aren't like mad verbal attacks or anything like that. That are all good, or some people have questions for us and stuff like that. So for those of you who I haven't responded to, I'm very sorry. If you're a little bit patient, I will get there one day soon. Sootpot's unhappy. It's all good, Sootpot's. Certain things make you what you are, I suppose. Can't complain all the time. But yeah, and I'm off to the dentist tomorrow to get some teeth yanked as well. So it's just been a bit of a funny week. But yeah, if anybody does, you can probably tell I'm not too bothered about things like that. But if anybody wants to check out Dune Part 2, I got a copy off the Pirate Bay. That was quite watchable, and don't have any problem doing so, especially after the terrible. I kind of felt like I wanted my money back actually from Dune Part 1. Sorry. Was such a god awful film, but particularly where I saw it, it was just rubbish. It was awful in every way possible. And I know a few people had similar experiences like that, But whereas the other, it's an interesting thing. It's kind of a segregated experience, hasn't it? Some people get to see it on super amazing IMAX and all its glory and stuff, and others are watching it on a normal cinema and stuff's missing. You can't see things. And I think that's appalling. And ultimately, as I said, all movies end up on TV, don't they? There's crap everywhere. Oh dear. Sootpot, if I remember correctly, are you involved with Jack Kurutu? And if it's the case, I wouldn't mind having a chat with you sometime. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of the reviews, folks. I don't know about yours. I've just been trying to. I pop in and pop out and stuff and check up on, there's Dune Newsnet and, Quinn and, oh goodness, I suppose you know quite a lot of them, Danica 19, and there's the Lower Party, I think it's the guys from Gone Jabbar, etc. So I've been checking out their reviews and stuff like that, and listening in and stuff while I sit here. And I think generally, almost universally with various groups like that and online, that they're all quite happy with the film. That it's the very very delighted with it, even though they have some minor concerns. But I do think it's quite a I don't know. I don't have a problem with people cutting bits of plot out to fit time or something like that, or maybe creating a composite character here and there, this kind of thing. But to maul so many of the characters to the point where they're barely recognizable. Cara Kennedy's got an article up. I think I put a link to it there. I got a wee email from her just the other day. Cara was very kind to me. I think we did a wee book launch and stuff for her, but particularly when my father died, she had sent me a few wee correspondences and was very kind to sort of say, "I'll give you a wee bit of space, Ross, and look after yourself, and I'll give you a bit of time and get in touch." So she's done that, and just was chatting away to her. I've chucked her a wee email. Not so that Jack Lowe. Not so that Jack God. Hang on. Not so cool. Not so that Jack. Oh, could you type that out again, Sootpot? It's got me confused. It's got me as confused as some of the misprints in this chapter. But yeah, I think a lot of the reviews have been overwhelmingly positive for the film. But I don't mind when people change things so much. But I really do just thought the characters were all wrong. And some of the writing was pretty bad, I think, from my own point of view. I think some of the writing was awful. And some of the changes that they made, as much as they made the discussion about why they made them, actually logically they didn't make any sense whatsoever. Not at that, Jack. Is that what you meant, Sootpot? Oh, as is, it's a good resource online, isn't it? jackaruti.com. I was just that's who I was talking about, but yeah, I'm trying to think about something there. But yeah, I don't know what you think. But I need a kind of antidote, if you like, for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. And I suppose the other thing, just to let you know, we're always about all things science fiction. Netflix has dropped the 3-body problem. I think today, actually, possibly last night. So I've watched the first 4 episodes. And for anybody who's enjoyed Xi Lu's A Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, it's not too bad, I suppose. The reception of Dune 2 is very negative at Jack. Did you hear that? I did. Oh dear, no, I did not. Is that the Jack Ruti that you're involved with, Sootpot? Because if so, I wouldn't mind having a chat with you at some point, and maybe we could organise something. Cynthia's saying, did you hear that Werner Vinge died recently? I did not. That's sad. Werner Vinge is the man who coined AI singularity, isn't he? Let me see. Werner Vinge, for those of you who don't know, is very well known. I haven't read too much. What I have read was Father of the Text. Yes, there you go. Died at 79. That's a good innings, isn't it? Let me just see. Oh dear, he died yesterday. That's sad. I'll read you a wee bit of blurb about him. For those who don't know, Werner Vinge is quite a very well regarded in the science fiction world. Was an American science fiction author and professor. He taught mathematics and computer science at San Diego State University. He was the first wide-scale popularizer of the technological singularity concept and among the first authors to present a fictional cyberspace. He won the Hugo Awards for his novels A Fire Upon the Deep, A Deepness in the Sky, and Rainbow's End, and novellas Fast Times at Fairmount High and The Cookie Monster. Check him out on Wikipedia. Werner Vinge was a huge influence on me, Cynthia, in my early 20s, and I started, I think I've told you this, that I started trying to write science fiction and realized that I wasn't too good at it, that I didn't have enough life experience, and that as much as I thought my ideas were good, but my writing was very, very poor, and I kind of figured I need to grow up for about another 20 years. For example, I can write quite well now, but a lot of my ideas, I think, I've seen other people come up with them, which is a thing that would naturally happen. I'm wondering if I do have something by Werner Vinge here. Bear with me very, very quickly. I don't know if I could find it. If I can't, I won't waste your time. Mr. Revenge, where are you? I'm sure there's something by here. I don't know there is, but Jack Vance. No, I can't find it. Sorry, I'm not worried about it just now. But yeah, Werner Vinge is the guy that came up with the term AI singularity, if you like. And it's a highly influential concept within science fiction and I suppose real world now today. What I suppose something what I was saying was all the stories that I wrote all those years ago, the main theme that they all had was that they were I was trying to write stories about how singularity would happen in different ways. That was the main theme of all my stories. Interestingly enough, so yeah, that's really sad to hear. Oh, rest in peace, Werner Vinge. So yeah, he's one of science fiction's big names. Actually, do you know what? I keep forgetting to do this. That we have all these resources here. You know that, and I keep forgetting to bring them down. Let's just grab a wee. I know we'll find out something about him in here. Just to see if we can let you know a little bit about him before that. But we can maybe have a wee chat. But let's see what his entry's like in the University Encyclopedia of Science Fiction. I always thought it was quite a cool name, Werner Vinge. You wouldn't find any Werner Vinges in Northern Ireland. But yeah, quite a big figure in science fiction. But you see if he's not in this book, that'll be a travesty. Alright, bear with me a second. There he is. Yeah, he's got quite a lengthy and I'll just give you a wee bit of blurb. Let's see if we can see. This is a reasonable resource for science fiction, second edition encyclopedia. US writer, professor of mathematics at San Diego University, married to Joan D. Vinge. From 1972 to 79, he began publishing science fiction with a partners for New Worlds in 1965. Published regularly in astounding science fiction. His best work appearing in True Names and Other Dangers, collected in 1987, which contains hard science fiction responsive to the thrust of technological progress. The title novella had earlier appeared as True Names and Threats and Other Promises, which includes more diverse material. His first novel is Grimm's World in Orbit 4, edited by Damon Knight as Grimm's Story. The fix-up is 1969, which is Grimm's World, is a colorfully told adventure set on a primitive human planet exploited by interstellar slavers with intriguingly elaborate detail. It is significantly less anodyne or routine than its description implies, and the punning title of the book turns out to be not inappropriate. From the first, Werner Vinge combined a feeling for the movement and thrill of humanity's high-tech progress through the universe with a sense that individual lives were bleak and often brutish. His second novel, The Witling, repeats a situation basic to the first. Intruding humans on a colony planet are confronted by a woman with heightened psi powers and confirmed the essential chill of his vision. Let's see. Say anything about singularity here. It says True Names 90 was the first of his tales to establish his reputation firmly as one of the more interesting writers of the version of a possibly paranormal or demented colleague seeking stories intermittently tangled by the cyberspace vision. But the cyberspace vision was prescient. There you go. Doesn't actually really chat too much about him there, but I'd say Wikipedia would have probably a fair wee bit more. But definitely a big character within the science fiction world. I'm very sorry to hear his passing, and thank you very much for that, Cynthia. So yeah, rest in peace, Werner Vinge, and thank you for your science fiction and your contributions to planet Earth's culture. AI singularity is a well-established thing in this day and age. And as I said, it's kind of a thing that got me into sort of scribbling a long time ago. Carlos Crescelia says, Dune 2 made me hate Chani and Gurney. Don't hate them, Carlos, because they're not Chani and Gurney. That's the way I look at it. Is Chani's not Chani. She's a face dancer. She's an imposter. Is that a way of looking at it? That Dune has been taken over by the Benny Twi'leks in the and they're all face dancers who've not quite got the characters right. But no, Chani has no resemblance whatsoever to Chani in the book. And I did backtrack with that. I wanted to check certain things that I wasn't kind of hallucinating or something, Pardon me. And oh, hello, Holly. And yeah, the whole thing where Gurney kills the beast Raban. I actually always thought that the beast Raban terrorizes the Fremen and the planet. I always thought it was right that he got ripped apart by the crowd, But yeah, it was really bad writing there for the Gurney thing, I think. And yeah, it's a very beautiful, shiny looking, gorgeous looking. It's a super polished turd, I think. Is pretty. I don't know, but it really is. It's got its heart and soul taken out of it, And as much as people are talking about, well, I've said that it's going to cause problems in Dune Messiah, but it won't cause problems for the filmmakers because they're going to rewrite Dune Messiah as badly as they've done this, I think, and certainly with the characters. But where the real problems come, and this is, I keep sort of saying this, and I don't have it handy really, but is in Children of Dune. Oh, I do have it handy, especially with once we're seeing all the changes put forward by the Atreides on Arrakis in this very short time of a 12-year period. We're going to add 9 years on to that, so within 21 years, the change to Arrakis as an ecological system, if you like, is immense, and that's the point where Leto II starts discussing that they have to undo it, and the problems, etc., with Kynes' thinking, etc. I don't know. The late Kynes thing appalled me, and that's kind of where I knew that I think of the film as woke, and I also think of the first film as I suppose a COVID film, really. There's something else about people walking directly at the camera all the time. I really don't like that. It happens an awful lot in Dune. It seems to be a kind of trait of Denis Villeneuve, if you like. He has little motifs, doesn't he? I also thought, that we're talking about architecture a wee bit earlier. I think that there's kind of an architectural, I don't know, continuity between, Blade Runner 2049. I think, I really didn't like Arrakeen at all. It didn't make any sense to me as a city. But yeah, Chani storming off into the desert at the end, having a major huff about things, I think diminished her character beyond everything, or beyond anything, And she is such a, Chani is a badass in the book. She really is. I think they also talk about the amount of time that characters get in the book, and I think almost all the characters get a certain degree of time, if you know what I mean. And none of them particularly get much. And I think that's what Lynch got right, if you see what I mean. Whenever these characters are on the screen, whether they're minor or make them big, give them the really important stuff, give them the iconic lines, if you like. And I think Denis Villeneuve's desire to not do anything that's been done in the other versions of Dune, I think, was a real hobbler. I think it crippled. How would I put it? It just handicapped him, I think. I just can't believe Hat bit. What bit's that? The worm thing at the end, possibly. There's so much about it that's. It's you know what? They should just put Denis Villeneuve's Dune on top of it, or put Frank Herbert's name. That's why Frank Herbert's. It's not Frank Herbert's Dune at all, is it? And I'd say it's probably a combination of Denis Villeneuve's and Brian Herbert's Dune, and I think it has more resemblance to the work of Brian Herbert than Frank Herbert. That's the way I would look at it. Oh, the ending of Dune 2, yeah, thank you, Soot. Yeah, it was crap, wasn't it? It's just, what the hell? And it's as I said, if anybody's not read it, have a look at Cara Kennedy's article on Chani. I think I posted it on the community page there. If you just want to get a wee link to it and have a good wee read, she points out all it's a and some of that stuff I think comes from her master's thesis. So really, just what all the good qualities that Chani has as a very strong female character, and what that really means in a book, if you like. That this isn't strength. This does not make a strong female character. She's very strong. I think we've been through that chapter with where Chani really comes to the fore and so on, and we understand how quite deadly she is. There, I suppose, interestingly enough, I'm sure I can't remember who it was that made the point about we talk about hands and agency. It might have been you, Cynthia, or possibly you, Chad, but giving birth in the Dune universe is agency, if you see, as power to a degree, and yeah, the whole fact that she's a mother, that she's a Sayadina, that she's a religious figure, that she has a transition into in the religious order at the point of her because the Reverend Mother Ramallo has passed, and the whole association with the fact that her father is Liet Kynes, and the fact that Paul has lost his father, she's lost her father. It's as much as they've seen each other, this kind of thing. It's one of the reasons why they bond so well, and they are a love story. In the way she should negotiate for you. Character seemed weak. As much as I was saying a polished turd, guys, I didn't even know whether to bother actually writing something. That's why I kind of did a wee. I'll just chat about it online because I kind of was that disgusted about it. I don't like to do criticism where I'm entirely negative, and I don't think I would be entirely negative. But I don't. Apart from saying it's a beautiful spectacle, I'm sure all the people involved with the $1 million technology, throw a couple of 100 million at anything, and you can make it look good. But it's the writing's really bad. And the characters are really bad. And I think I've pointed out that of all the qualities of the Baron, all that's left is he's fat. And I'm kind of thinking, why did they bother with the fats? Even just they should have just made him just thin and just stripped out every single quality of him. Which is kind of interesting in terms of how we look at grotesque villains and stuff like that. That's okay for him to be fat, but we don't want him to be gay. We don't want him to be a paedophile. We don't want him to be all of these things, And I particularly thought that the actor Stellan Skarsgård talking about that the Baron's a bit wordy, and I don't need that. I don't care. And it showed to me, his comments showed to me the contempt that the cast have for the book. I think the other thing, the metaphor I was going with was I think that Dune Part 1 and 2 are a bit like Zendaya's arse in that robot outfit, if you know what I mean, the kind of Soriyama looking outfit, if you like, which it would have been quite funny. I didn't think she could barely walk in that thing. I've seen someone else in one of them. And if you know what I mean, it's all very, very shiny, and you can see an arse in there somewhere. And apart from that, it's just very hollow and something pretty to look at, but absolutely shallow and soulless and heartless, I think. But particularly, as I said, I think the main thing is that Dune, I think, is more. I've always said this; it's more relevant now than it's ever been. Pardon me, but there we go. Has anybody got any wee questions or anything? Because otherwise, I think I'll wrap up, folks. Because I'm going to go munch some painkillers. But yeah, it's a terrible ending. Excuse me. I'll tell you something else. I absolutely hated what they did with the Reverend Mother, Gaius Helen Boheme. I think every character's been badly mauled. The only one that kind of comes out close to what he is Paul, and I think he's badly diminished. And I think the attempt to overtly point out that he's not quite the good, not quite the great hero, I think was a mistake, especially if you're going to go on with with Dune Messiah, that's where we should have the inversion of everything, And especially, the last thing I'll say really about that is that the female characters, they're all in the background, all this, where do they come to the fore? Is it's in the inversion, it's in Dune Messiah, and to be honest with you, female characters will kind of dominate from then on. We'll get it. We'll still have Leto and Leto the Second, but particularly with as we move towards the Bene Gesserit books, it's I just think it's a little bit sad, and I think it's very disrespectful. And I understand that people change books and adapt them and stuff, but you don't expect to see characters who have so little resemblance to the characters in the book. But there we go, folks. As Chaya saying, have a great night. Thanks, Doc. Thank you very much, Chaya. So they said, hope your procedure goes well tomorrow. Thanks for doing chapter 13 this evening. No worries. I'll just get to the point where my legs hanging off. I would do it. To be honest, this wee thing keeps me going. I really like it. I felt quite bad just because I found so little in this chapter to work with, to question, and just kind of had to assume that, kind of run with it, that it is kind of a bridging chapter to push the narrative, to accelerate things, and it's just dialogue heavy. There's a couple of little comments about religious government and the nature of how the Atreides rule, this kind of thing, and it's interesting enough, but just not much for me to get my teeth into, if you see what I mean. But yeah, off tomorrow. But that's the worst thing, Cynthia, is with my kind of sleep disorder and stuff. Plus the level of pain I'm in, I don't think I'm going to sleep a wink tonight, to be honest. But I'm in at 11:20 in the morning to get some teeth removed, which has been giving me quite a lot of bother. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, if you like. But I was supposed to get it done a wee while back, and the thing got cancelled, which is a big thing here at the minute. But no problem at all, folks. Chapter 14, all being that I can speak okay, is also very short. And again, I'm hoping there maybe be a bit more I can get my teeth into, but there'll be no problems getting that done for Thursday. So we'll be back at the same time next week, Thursday at 9 o'clock. Here, hang on. Did the clocks go forward? Bear with me a wee second. It's not to the week after. No, it'll be 9 p.m. GMT next week. The week after that, the clocks will go forward, and we'll shift our time zone here to GMT +1, which is always annoying, but we get more daylight. I suppose it's annoying whenever we go back, But you're more than very welcome, folks. Thank you very much, then, folks, for joining me tonight. And excuse my little thing at the beginning. That's just something I did. Somebody's watching, and I told them. But it's I don't like getting scammed. That's life, and these things happen. So I'll say this. Superpot saying, be well, everyone. Yeah, all of you, look after yourselves. Take care of each other, and I hope life's treating you as well. And we'll see you next week at the same time, hopefully. All the very best, folks, and thank you so much for your help tonight. It's been great. Good night. Bye bye. Do 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 ba 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 ba.